During a routine head count at 8:30 this morning, it was determined that several detainees were unaccounted for. Immediately upon discovery, OPSO activated emergency protocols and launched a coordinated response to locate and return these individuals to custody.
All of those suspects are considered to be armed and dangerous, so anybody with information, we encourage you to see something, say something, and let us know.
Are you all expecting, or do you think that these men are running around in their jumpsuits right now?
No.
Is that what people should be on the lookout for?
I would think no. It's more than likely that someone had help and that they are not running around in a jumpsuit. But if they were, that's going to be a very, you're going to stand.
What's up? What it do? Welcome back to the channel. It's Eon Williams, man. It's the DC Blacks platform. Appreciate the love. Now, I know today I've been a little caught up watching some of this Diddy stuff, but I can't lie to you. I got to be 100% honest with you. I love a good escape from a prison or a jail. And I just did a story or a video. I ain't gonna really call it a story. I just did a video on Alcatraz, and Donald Trump said those things that he said about Alcatraz, and I did a video about why Alcatraz wouldn't or shouldn't or couldn't open again, right? But on the real, I went back and watched the old movie Escape from Alcatraz, and it's funny with this story that I'm going into now. So 11 inmates, according to the people, escaped from a Louisiana jail, a New Orleans jail, they saying. I'm gonna give you this information, but I got a couple stories that I've done on escapes. You know what I mean? Shout out to my man Champ. He escaped while he was on Red Onion, Virginia. Big Reds, I did a video on him. He escaped from DC jail. He escaped from Lawton. He escaped from different joints. It's just something about a good old escape. But these dudes, you know, they let me know that, you know, even in the younger generation, you know, not to glorify any type of crime or any type of violence they may have committed on somebody, you know, in the process of how they was living, coming up in the slums or the ghetto or the hood or whatever they did. But I don't understand, as anybody seen the video I did on the prison in El Salvador, I just couldn't understand how these were supposed to be the most vicious criminals, most violent criminals in the world. And every time you see any type of video, any type of news coverage on that El Salvador prison, the mega joint, the CICOT, they quiet, they respectful, they on their best behavior. I never understood how a person could be on their best behavior in prison. At 16 years old, me and my partner, even facing life sentences over DC jail as juveniles, man, we tried to escape. But check this out right here. I'm gonna show you a couple different little clips of it. 10 inmates escaped the New Orleans jail after breaking a wall behind a toilet and may have had help, the local sheriff said Friday. So far, only one of the men have been found. We have indication that these detainees received assistance in their escape from individuals inside our department. Orleans Parish Sheriff Suzanne Houston said at a news conference Friday afternoon. After breaching the wall at the Orleans Justice Center in New Orleans, the inmates left through a door used to bring in supplies around 1 a.m., scaled a wall, and ran across the interstate. Hudson said, the words too easy, they misspelled it. So then as they was going through the hole that they went through is just like the movie in Alcatraz, the Escape from Alcatraz, how they cut a hole in the vent and they floor, climbed through the thing, jumped on the roof, went down the roof, got on the raft and disappeared into the San Francisco Bay. These guys cut a hole in the wall, right? I ain't even gonna say cut a hole in the wall, that's incorrect. They moved the toilet, ripped the toilet out the wall, and there was a hole between, or like a hole, a crawlway to go into the back area behind it. Anybody that ever been in jail know that behind those toilets, they're like mop closets and stuff. Usually they're like little hallways or catwalks that lead to somewhere else. Some type of way these guys were smart enough, had enough ingenuity to rip the toilet from behind and was able to crawl through a crawl space in the back of the wall. I mean, and if I had to use a word that was an adjective, I would say I would have to say it was beautiful, right? The words too easy, laugh out loud can be seen written on the wall above the hole with an arrow pointing towards it, according to a photo shared by the sheriff's office. The escape wasn't discovered until hours later at about 8:30 a.m. They really did their homework on this one. These young niggas was on their game, bro. When staff noticed them missing during a routine head count, according to the sheriff, while inmates are normally in lockdown at the facility at 10:30 p.m., the inmates were able to escape because of defective locks on cells, officials said. There are deficiencies in these facilities that cause public safety concerns, Hudson said. A lot of times I read about these new jails and stuff that they make, and a lot of times they say that they rush them, and that sometimes the security locks on them to secure cells after the cells are supposed to have been locked in, quote unquote, inmates are supposed to be locked in for count or for the night. When I was a young guy and I was in jail, I did 17 years. We had a system. We'd stick a toothbrush, an ink pen, a marker in the door. Boom. We called it jamming the door. Once the doors were jammed, the police thought the doors was locked secure, safely and secure. We would do what you call popping out. We yank on the door until the door pop out. We may do that to stab someone. We may do that just to come out. Like me and a couple of my buddies, we were on a special handling, a total separation. We were never supposed to come out with nobody. Every time we went in the cell, we'd jam the door so that we could pop out. I mean, in fact, I caught my first stab and popping out the door. The dude that I had the problem with thought that he was safely walking the 10, that all the cells was locked and secure. Once they popped the salad port door, it came in through the day room floor, came up the steps, came onto the tier door. Once they popped the tier door, I yanked the cell open. These dudes in this joint right here, where they saying that even the system, the sheriff is saying that some of the locks don't properly lock. That's an age-old thing with people doing time in detention centers or jails. Now, officials say initially they reported that 11 people had escaped the facility, but later said it was a miscount and 10 had escaped. The inmate had been moved to a different cell, but it had not been updated in the system, Hudson said. So I hadn't seen that information before, so let me correct myself. I never like to be loud and wrong. They said, and they showed a picture. Like, I didn't get all my news from one source. I'm not the type of dude to see one thing and say, "Oh, this is the Holy Grail. This is God's given truth." But I'm gonna show you a picture of the young man that they said was caught hiding under a car in the French Quarter. So I'm not sure that I could believe this. However, I did see on another news report that they said that one of the guys that they said had escaped hadn't really escaped. I think that's where this mix-up between 10 and 11 is, because for sure they caught a guy hiding under a car and they got a picture of him in the back of the police car.
We have an update on breaking news we're following out of New Orleans. One inmate has now been captured in the French Quarter after 11 inmates escaped the Orleans Parish Justice Center this morning. Kelly Beeson continues to follow this for us and is live in the newsroom with the very latest.
Yes, and the very latest in this case, Nicole, is troopers posting this to X. This was just moments ago that they have, in fact, located escapee Kendall Miles in the French Quarter, as you reported this morning, after a brief foot pursuit, that he was apprehended on Royal Street and that troopers continue working with partners to locate the remaining escapees and ensure public safety. So the governor of Louisiana posting this to X in response. Thank you to Troop NOLA for their diligence and speed in apprehending the first escapee. To the other 10, you are next. So these are the men who remain on the loose at this hour, all between the ages of 20 to 42, and all authorities say should be considered armed and dangerous. 3 of these men with charges that include second-degree murder. So it was earlier this morning, Nicole, around 8:30 a.m. local time, that the missing inmates were discovered. This was during a routine head count. Authorities urging the public to remain alert and not to engage or approach these men.
We can confirm for you that we were able, and OPD was able to at least apprehend one of the escapees. I do not have a confirmation on the name just yet. The person obviously is not speaking.
One of the escapees, Miles. Matter of fact, this is the one I'm talking about. I think his name is Kendall Miles. One of the escapees, Miles, was captured after deputies found him hiding under a car at a hotel parking garage, according to the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office. Miles ran away when troopers tried to make contact with him, but he was quickly apprehended, Louisiana State Police said.
NOLA, the cameras do have facial recognition technology. I'm not going to get into it other than to tell you this is the exact reason why facial recognition technology is so critical and is well within our boundaries of the ordinance here. because we are allowed to use facial recognition technology in an event just like this, okay? And so we are already using our technology to leverage and help us, and I believe that
Miles was previously charged with attempted murder. Miles was previously charged with attempted second-degree murder, according to the Orleans Parish records. He has been rebooked for a new charge of simple escape, the sheriff's office said on Facebook. So once again, I think ultimately it was only 10 that escaped. One that was just missing because he was moved from one cell to another. So again, that's a mishap, and that's a mess up on a jail keepers. So I assume from what I've read here and what they said on the thing that 10 escaped, one was caught, 9 should be on the run. We do acknowledge there is no way people can get out of this facility without there being some type of lapse in security, Hudson said. It's almost impossible for anybody to get out of the facility without help from the outside. Now they always say that, but I have stories that I've done videos on to show and prove that some people get out of these prisons without any help at all. Now, I'm not gonna say that it can't be a situation where some help is given, but in some of these joints right here, or where the dudes just climb out a wall and hop a fence and jump over the wall and go across the highway, like, you know, sometimes you just gotta get the dudes the props that they was desperate enough to do whatever they needed to do to get out. Louisiana State Police released a photo of Kendall Miles after he was captured. Authorities say Miles is one of the inmates who escaped from the Orleans Justice Center. That's the name of this joint. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Morrell says somebody clearly dropped the ball and there's no excuse for this. People gonna get fired about this right here. The sheriff's office urged the public to be on high alert for the missing inmates who are considered armed and dangerous. Anyone who thinks they might see an escaped inmate or know of his whereabouts. I ain't reading all that. You already know they doing the tipping and reward. They got to go do their job as far as I'm concerned. The remaining individuals are still being actively pursued, and the deputies are actively being pursued. And our deputies, in collaboration with local and state law enforcement, are working tirelessly to locate and return them to custody, the sheriff's office said. How the escape unfolded. Now, of course, this the official version of the story, right? How the inmate escape unfolded. The inmates at the New Orleans Parish Jail began yanking on a cell to pull it off track, and around 12:20 a.m. were able to break open a door, according to Hudson. While a corrections monitor technician was watching, they exited the jail at around 1 a.m. after breaching the wall behind the toilet in the jail. Shout out to them, bro. Some toiletries in a handicap cell were used to remove some bolts and fixtures. Chief of Corrections Jay Mallet said at the news conference Friday, "We know that this cannot be removed from the inside, so we are investigating that to see exactly who entered these areas, what kind of work was done, if there was work being done, and if that is an inside job," Mallet said. Now, I'm not too sure that they're going to prove that this inside job, man. I mean, these dudes diligently worked at this. Like, I done seen dudes escape. I done tried to escape. I know homies that didn't escape. I know homies that did elaborate escapes. But it's just something about this escape that remind me of that escape from Alcatraz. Not the water part, not the danger part, but the leaving the sign in the hole where they left at. I mean, for me, that was classy. They were seen, okay, so all the dudes that got out of the joint, they were seen on a video surveillance exiting the door where supplies are brought in. Then they scaled their wall and ran across the interstate, according to Hudson. More than 7 hours later, they were discovered to be missing during a routine head count Friday morning. The deputy who was on duty notified jail leadership, and the United States Marshal Service Fugitive Task Force was notified before 9:30 a.m., about an hour after the inmates were discovered missing. The New Orleans Police Department was also notified around the same time. It was a fluid situation as authorities worked to get a handle on 1,400 people in the facility, the sheriff said. When this went down, our first concern is to find out who these folks are, confirm, and then we've got to look down the whole jail. And then we've got to lock down the whole jail and make sure nobody else is missing, Hudson said. We are investigating our own records to find out exactly what happened and where those lapses were. This is a developing story and will be updated. Now, a lot of times I miss the rush with some of these stories because I wait for certain facts to come out. Just like if I wouldn't have waited for this fact right here to come out, that it was only 10 of them that escaped in the beginning. Once I did my story, I would have said 11 because that's what they was all saying. So from what I'm getting right here, 10 escaped, 1 was caught, so it should be 9 on the run. Nevertheless, man, young people, man, stay out of jail because you never want to have to go through this. But for guys that's ever been in jail facing some of these type of charges, I know that you could relate, bro. Anytime I'd have never been in the jam, I'd have tried to find a way to get out of that joint, man. Salute to the real, man. Freedom men. Long live the ancestors.